So guys, this week the Sandstorm devs did something pretty unique. They put out the brand new 1.9.1 patch, which is unusual in that it's a minor update that actually has playable content, which I personally think is really good for the game, and we're going to get into that in just a bit. But probably the biggest story of this week is the controversy that new content stirred up. So guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and let's find out. Alright guys, how you going? Welcome to the video, and like I said, this week we got the brand new 1.9.1 patch for Sandstorm, which, like I said, is kind of weird because it's more than just a bunch of bug fixes this time around. It actually includes new playable content, including a couple of brand new weapons, which is really interesting because normally the devs save big ticket items like that for the major updates. And like I said, I think that's really good news for the game. One of the biggest criticisms I've had of Sandstorm since day one is the fact there just wasn't enough updates. So along with the bigger themed updates every 3 months or so, maybe this is a sign that from now on the devs are going to come back and give us something little at least in between to tide us over. Now, like I said, the most exciting thing in 1.9.1 are those two new weapons. We've now got the QBZ-97 for the Insurgent team and the QTS-11 for the Security team, which in a nutshell are both fairly slow-firing, low-recoil assault rifles that aren't particularly exciting, but at least they fill a niche somewhere in that mid to long-range assault rifle bracket. Also, what's really interesting is, like the AUG, they both come with their own unique mid-zoom scopes, which look pretty decent and are surprisingly well suited to what these guns are trying to achieve. And not just that, but I should mention the QTS-11 even has its own internal bolt action grenade launcher. You've still got to actually equip the attachment, it doesn't come for free, but it's got its own animations, and that's just interesting and makes the gun unique in its own right. Now, if you know anything about firearms, well, you might have actually picked up that both of these guns are actually Chinese weapons, which is actually intentional. Basically, what the devs are doing now is releasing updates based on themes, and while this particular update was meant to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Now, if you've been keeping up with Sandstorm on social media, you might have seen in the last week or so there's been a fair bit of controversy going on relating to some of the skins the devs had planned to release in this update as well. And as you can see, they're Chinese themed, which is fair enough, but obviously they're a fair bit more cartoony than what we've come to expect for the style of a game like this. So needless to say, the community erupted, and yesterday the devs announced that they were going to be pulling the skins altogether, which is actually, I think, kind of redeeming, because considering this was paid DLC, a lot of studios would have just pushed ahead, ignored the community, and released them anyway. And so look, my personal view is yes, I think the devs did get this one wrong. I think in future, the cosmetics need to be consistent with the gritty, realistic aesthetic of the game. But I am glad that they did choose to listen to the community, and they did ultimately make the right decision for the identity of the game, despite the fact that it's obviously going to cost them revenue. Now, moving on, unfortunately, as it turns out, that actually wasn't the only controversial change in this patch. In this one, the devs also finally decided to kill competitive, which, look, I don't think was a surprise to anyone. I think we all kind of realized by now that it wasn't ever going to be something people were going to play. It was already basically a dead mode. And I think ultimately that comes down to the fact, as we all pretty much know by now, the devs just prioritized modes like Push in Sandstorm rather than Firefight, which was really popular in the last game. And well, they actually acknowledged that in these patch notes officially. Quote, "We want every gameplay experience in Sandstorm to meet a certain standard, and competitive was not up to that standard." So that's a bit sad, but on a lighter note, what the devs have added for the next 2 weeks to kind of soften the blow is actually a modified version of competitive Firefight as a limited time mode, which, to be honest, might actually be a better way of doing it generally. Maybe as a limited time mode, people will actually queue into it for a change. But anyway, finally, just one last thing before we finish up. The other thing you're probably going to notice in this update is the devs have made a few little improvements to the UI. And in particular, what they've done is they've changed the end of round screen, which, look, probably isn't going to affect you that much in-game, but as you can see, I think it looks a little bit better. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this quick update video. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And just remember that I can't possibly cover every little detail of these dev posts in one video. So as always, if you want to find out more, I'll leave all the links in the description. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And don't forget, you can also find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.